Welcome to the Guthrie Library. We have a number of archival items here, including some things about A Christmas Carol that could be kind of fun. Of course, we have to start with 50 years of programs. Several copies of each year here in our little folders. First official Christmas Carol, full-length play that ran for a number of weeks, was in 1975. The cast from the original production. King Donovan was our Scrooge. Christmas Carol is like no other production that we do because we do it annually. It has been a multi-year journey to understand how Christmas Carol works. We also have, fun things like a set model that was created by the designer of our previous Christmas Carol that was adapted by Crispin Whittel.
Good heavens, this place, I was born in this place.
The bulk of the space in the Guthrie Library is actually taken up by books. So we have collections of scripts, anthologies and playwright collections, design, and various other books that we've gathered over the past 50, 60 years. Many patrons will donate their programs or other little found items that they have, and one of our more recent acquisitions from a patron was this poster of A Christmas Carol from, I think it was 1978. Through the years, we almost always took at least set-up shots of the prime actors who were in A Christmas Carol. And our first Scrooge was King Donovan in 1975. He looked like this. And Richard Ohms, who is a longtime member of the acting company, played it for 3 years in the 80s. Another longtime acting member who played Scrooge for a number of years in the 80s was John Lewin.
I am the ghost of Christmas present. Look upon me.
50 years of A Christmas Carol is a really impressive milestone. More importantly, perhaps, it's one of the shows, especially here at the Guthrie, that attracts first-time audience goers, especially children. We can do that for 50 years, and if we can do that for going on 3 or 4 generations of people, then I think that's a really great gift to the community.